Welcome to The Corner, La Source's digital show dedicated to the sport and entertainment industry. Every 2 weeks, we invite a professional to share their experience, background, and challenges. The sport industry moves fast, and having their insights is the best way to keep up to speed. Welcome to The Corner.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of The Corner International. Today, we're super happy to welcome Tomas amongst us. Hi, Tomas.
Hi. Thanks for the invite, Sam.
Well, we're super happy to have you here. We've been discussing for a little while, so glad to meet you in person and glad to have a chance to discuss all the topics that both your company and us are working on. But first of all, we'd like to just leave it to our guests to introduce themselves. So, who is Tomas?
Yeah, I'm Thomas. I'm working for Techonomy as a director of digital innovation, and I'm actually fascinated by sports as I was a long professional athlete myself. Played in soccer since I was 6 until first team, and from there on, also my passion for digital innovation was really triggered. I wanted to know more about tech and how it could be applied in terms of fan engagement and. That's why I'm really passionate and still working in sports with a lot of fun. So thanks for having me.
And you were professional, right? Like I saw in your resume, Fortuna.
Yeah. I played there since I was 6. Started in the academy and grew up to the first team. Played there 2 years, but at one point I was really realistic looking at myself like. Am I still the best one? There were a lot of really talented football players who play now at the biggest club. So at one point I chose to just focus more on my professional career, and really happy where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit more. So you moved away from sports. Was that a lot of people that stopped when they stopped their careers? You kind of started, but it was very short. Did you feel like it was a first death, or was it easy? You never really made it as a pro, and so it was kind of like, okay, your first professional life was going to be the next step.
At first I was really like, I wanted to go out of sports. I don't know, I was there for like 14, 15 years in it, and I was trying to move away. I did my internship at one of the biggest coffee brands in the Netherlands, and working there at the digital team. And actually that also made me realize that it was really interesting to step out of it, to learn more about other industries.
Yeah.
But in the end, it was quite funny when I came back. I was traveling for a couple of months. I came back during COVID, and then I came in touch with Techonomy, who was working mainly in sports. So it was really interesting to see that we grew during that period as COVID also hit, especially a lot of sports organizations that really needed help in digitalization. So it was actually good that at that time I was coming back, and I feel really comfortable with working for those organizations as well.
So you didn't really look to work back in sports; it kind of fell, and now you're in it. And are you excited to be in it? Like, do you see yourself now lasting in it, or is it just like a temporary, your first gig, first opportunity, and you see where to go from there?
Yeah, I think I'm now realizing that moving away from sports and now it brought me back is something that also. Looking at the future makes me secure that I really want to be in it, because I know how the business works. I know how it was to be on the field, and now knowing it from more a fan perspective, that it's much more easy to talk with clients also about how they should look at it, because I know both sides. So
yeah. Funny thing, feels very similar to my background, but I'll leave that to this side. And so Techonomy. So tell us a bit more about Techonomy. Even me, I know Techonomy through you.
Yep.
But it is a big organization working with a lot of big, entities in the sports world.
Yeah, and I think that evolved actually over the past couple of years. I think we founded in 2015 officially, and we grew really as an organization with mainly focus on sports. I think 70 or 80% of our clients are in sports. Actually, we're a full-service digital marketing agency with now more than 65 colleagues. We're mainly based in the Netherlands. We have an office in Belgium and also in Australia since a couple of years. And from there on, we operate for sports clients across Europe, Australia, and also Qatar, for example, for the Grand Prix, helping them also grow smarter through digital, actually.
Yep.
And I think what sets us apart really is that we we see the digitalization more from a horizontal approach where we seamlessly integrate the strategy, the technology, creativity, data, and content to help our clients navigate an increasingly complex digital landscape, also with confidence.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really sets us apart from more agencies that were really focusing on verticals for the clients.
Yeah, you really want to be a 360-degree digital agency in sports.
Yep.
Interesting. And how did you staff up the company to be able to get to that point where there's 75 people that can bring such a big load of expertise to the table?
I think what we really did is focused on young talented people, as young talented people are much more likely to interact with digital platforms. They creating their own YouTube channels. They know how platforms like Instagram work. They're really more digital savvy, and I think our main focus is to build the company or build the agency on talented people, on those talented people that can also talk with each other. So we have data scientists, we have content creators, we have campaign specialists that can chain all the things within digitalization together. And that's quite challenging, but we are able to do that for our clients and to work together. That also makes the client feel more comfortable in like, okay, we trust you, you know how to do it, even if it's about data, even if it's about campaigning, we can service it all.
Yeah. And so how many clients do you have now?
I think it's more than 100 already, and it really differs in terms of like
scale.
In terms of the scale. So for example, for UEFA, we're really working on the whole CRM, email push notification strategy, and for others, we're just doing really like one-off campaigns. So it really differs, but in the end, it's really fun to work with all different kinds of organizations and have a different maturity in digitalization.
Yeah. And it's a self-made agency, right? No private investment. It's a pure.
Yeah. Well, actually, we just entered a bigger group in Europe, TRG, where we been part of since October. That is mainly focused in or just based in Germany. That has now, I think, more 10 or 12 companies within the group.
Okay.
Where we also decided to enter that network, as it gave us a lot of opportunity to access more clients in Europe, as we really wanted to move forward in Europe with bigger organizations. And I think at that tipping point, we really saw that as a big opportunity. So since October, we're part of that.
So you're a big international agency now.
Yes.
Ultimately. Cool. And today we want to discuss AI. You guys have been doing a lot of stuff in AI, and we were discussing it briefly before the start of the recording of the podcast. But AI has been around for a little while, right? It's not purely new, but the pace at which it is developing right now is at a very different scale than what than what it was in the past years. Tell us a little bit more where do you see the best outputs of AI related topics currently in the sports industry? Like if we look at before going into what's going on now.
Yeah, I think in sports you have two sides. You have more or less one on the performance side, where you see a lot on the field. There is a lot of data technology. Last couple of years, you see that in football, for example, with all the teams having iPads, using wearables that collect all the data and giving insights to players' performance, preventing from injuries, etc. And on the other hand, you really see to make sports more accessible, more on the grassroots part, but also on I think on fan engagement. It's really interesting to see how AI is creating better, smarter insights to market the products that you have as a club itself. So making it more accessible to watch content from the club, more personalized offers that a club can bring to you. And I think that's everything that a fan is expecting today as it is.
And obviously like some of the extensions of what you're talking about are naturally the clipping platforms that have been out there for a while, who have specialized on this topic, which was a lot of proprietary tech actually. And which is interesting, like, because I think we're at a moment where it's a big pivot, where AI used to be super complicated, and now the democratization of AI is something that is huge.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the democratizing of AI is making it a lot more fun and a lot more interesting, because now we still have a really technical data team who can help us with the more complex stuff, with the custom AI stuff to build those kind of models. But on the other hand, like actually all of our marketeers and also all the marketeers at football clubs have now the power to do things that they couldn't do before, to create like proof of concepts of chatbots, to create images, all the things that were really complex and technical are now much more accessible for everyone, actually.
Yeah. And just to remove completely that part of the conversation, there's obviously been a lot of trends, right?
Yeah.
Like historically, we've gone through the AR VR trend,
Yeah.
and then there was a lot of the Web3.
Yeah.
Why would you say, from your perspective, is AI an innovation that is incredibly different to those ones?
I think AI is really focused on real added value, because like using the foundations of the data and the tech that you implement to create more relevance, more personalized offers towards fans, to interact with them in a way that resonates more, that makes it much more likely to get them to the stadium, to do something with the club, to make them feel part of the club, is something that, compared to Web3, I still see Web3 more as and I know I was talking about it a lot during COVID, and it was really interesting to see that's evolving in some kind of way. But on the other hand, you still see that was a gimmick. There wasn't a really good business case around it. Maybe in ticketing, I think that's a still interesting thing. But for the rest, you saw that if the tag isn't applied to specific business goals, you saw that with Liverpool, you saw that with Paris Saint-Germain. There are a lot of just concepts that didn't work out the way they wanted.
But that's interesting, right? Because a lot of companies were funded on the basis of Web3 and that economy.
Yeah.
How do you see AI penetrating? Do you think it's going to be new tech companies that are going to come together? Do you think it's existing tech companies that are actually going to bake in AI in their system? Or is it like how do you see AI penetrate that landscape? Is it going to be new companies, or is it going to be existing companies using more and more AI?
I think it really depends. You see a lot of tools that are really moving into some kind of niche where they really create an accessible product that does really job very well. But on the other hand, you see the enterprise systems that are integrating AI to get more value out of all the data that they already have in place,
Yeah.
to create better segmentations, better recommendations, all those kind of things. So I think it's a combination of both. But it's really interesting to see where it's heading to. From personally, I really find it hard to say what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of opportunity to make some mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Predicting the future. But so tell us, so right now you guys do a lot in AI in sports. You work amongst others with the KNVB. So tell us, like, how do you go about it? Do you go inside the organization and say, we are going to help you with different problems that you might have, and like, let us help you fix those?
Yeah.
Or do you come in where we're going to come with an AI strategy to optimize some of your workflows or some of your problems?
Yeah, I think both, actually, because we're really open to it, because all the clients we're working with, and particularly KNVB is one of them, they really want to explore on what's possible within AI. So last year we did an internal session together with the Bundesliga, who was obviously one of the good AI use cases that integrated in the app.
Yeah.
To inspire them in some kind of way on how the KNVB could do that possibly within their own app, or just to inspire them on how AI could be applicable for them. And I think that's where a lot of organizations are. And for the KNVB, we're doing both, actually, to see like, hey guys, start with a bottom line, just seeing how we can optimize workflows, set up custom GPTs, also make the people feel comfortable with using AI, to just not say, okay, so just start with using ChatGPT, but also know how to use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Really basic stuff, but in the end, really important to create some kind of a foundation that will lead eventually to success. And on the other hand, I think more from a strategic perspective, a lot of organizations also need guidance from more the executive part, where so how should AI be part of our strategy, or actually AI should be maybe our strategy, with real clear business goals, KPIs, to see how you can implement it in a way that, if you can do it at one use case, how you can scale it up to other use cases within the organization.
Yeah. And so it's a mix of short-term and long-term kind of objectives that you go in there with.
Yeah.
And how you welcome when you bring up the AI topic? Like, we often know that the sports digital industry is not the most mature one, right? Like compared to potentially other industries. How are you welcome in an organization like KNVB? Are people excited about it? Do people like take it on relatively rapidly? Or is it like, do you feel like there are multiple barriers based on existing workflows that feel like, or with a lack of capability of employees to change?
Sometimes it's just popping up actually because a lot of organizations, especially within the Netherlands, know what we are capable of, and actually we're creating the preconditions for using AI with data, the technology infrastructure to get real value out of the data that you already have. And on the other hand, sometimes it's just about seeing how we can optimize workflows and saying, hey, we can do this much more efficient or much more personalized. And then we actually don't have to say, hey, it's AI, because in the end, it's for me, it's just a marketing or a buzzword that is really using by all the agencies or everyone who wants to be relevant says something about AI. But I think in the end, it's more or less that a lot of people don't care about the technology. It's just about getting the insights much more smarter, much more real time, solving issues that were once really complex in a much more easy, scalable, and cheaper way.
Yeah, and that's interesting, right? Because I always thought Web3 was such a gimmick, but the technology itself had some potential, but it was just like taken by people who wanted to make the short-term money instead of using it as a tool to potentially power good experiences like loyalty and membership or those types of topics. And so the fact that you mentioned that AI on your side is more something that sits behind the scenes versus has to be prevalent is interesting. How do you actually go about that? Because, you mentioned basically day one of KNVB, you came in and you tried to educate everybody to use a chat GPT, but how do you put AI in workflows? Right? Because there is an element at some point for it to be adopted. You have to think about how all the systems interconnect, and we'll get to the AI agents topic a bit further down the line. Yeah. But how do you actually not talk about AI to implement it in the process?
Yeah, well, in the end, like you said, there's a big difference in implementing it and also where you have to change your technology within that. Then obviously you have to be aware of what kind of system, what kind of platforms you will use. Yeah. On the other hand, we also look at the short term, also in terms of like really easy to use tools that can automate your workflows without replacing your whole digital ecosystem. But on the other hand, we have the specialists that can leverage like those easy and low-key use cases. But also on the other hand, if there are massive changes, we have to restructure or create a new infrastructure on the technology side. We also have those specialists within our agency that can help with building that or advising in that ecosystem. So.
Yeah. And can you give us an example of something that you guys deployed that involved AI with one of your clients?
Yeah, actually we also really working on, like I said, both use cases more on the strategic side with creating a roadmap. So picking up the first projects with re-implementation of new systems that integrate AI. Yeah. On the other hand, we're now for one of our clients in the Netherlands, we're building an AI-driven chatbot that makes also sports for people with a disability more accessible. Also integrated with voice, for example, to help them with creating training programs, finding a club nearby, helping them with more complex problems in terms of actually participating in sports, all those kind of things. And also because a lot of knowledge in federations, they all have a lot of articles, a lot of training programs, all those things they really wanted to have in one place. And that's where we said like, hey, this chatbot that you already have, it's a outdated chatbot based just on a flow that you built. Yeah. And now with AI, you can combine all that knowledge in one and make it much more accessible, much more relevant to all the people that want to participate in sports in the Netherlands. And those kind of use cases we are now working on at the moment. So I can't really tell you about the impact.
How successful they are.
Yeah. So in the end, but it's really interesting to see that is one of the great use cases I really believe in, to make that information that you have on your website, to interact
available
with customers,
in the conversational way.
To make it actually, when I'm talking to ChatGPT, I give so much information about myself, and now we are also doing a lot of gamification campaigns for clients where you really ask, like, what's your first name, what's your last name, what's your date of birth, and when you feel like you're not interacting with the technology, but actually a person that also responds in a really seamless way, which you're much more likely also to provide that information to get a more personalized and relevant feedback for you.
I mean, technically you also get so much out of it, right? Because the one thing about giving data is how much you receive against it. So you're willing to give more. When you're giving information to ChatGPT, it's for your own benefit ultimately, right? So like how do you transform that into marketing money and like that's what's really interesting. But I wanted to get so ultimately the promise of that product, and just like if I break it up a little bit, it's you're using one of the LLMs out there. You're actually then creating your own branch where you're feeding additional information coming from different sources into that system. And ultimately for the client, it's just going to be a simple interface where you, Thomas, can ask a question in a normal way and where you will have the relevant information and then put it at the service of all the people who have a license in the organization or just want to connect to the platform and look for any information.
Yeah, and additionally to that, what we really saw during the first period when we were looking at requirements, that using a chatbot isn't, for us, it's maybe as tech savvy people, it's really, we know how to deal with ChatGPT, we know how to generate images, but to make it accessible, to create some kind of like pre-prompted, pre-prompts actually in the chatbot itself to say like, hey, based maybe on behavior or suggestions that you're looking for a sports organization nearby based on your zip code, whatever, those kind of things are really also important to make it much more accessible, because in the end you can build a chatbot for every federation or club or whatever, but it also has to be accessible for people who are not tech savvy.
Yeah, so you're looking to simplify that access so that anybody can get to it. Super interesting. And from the Middle East world, are you guys working over there at all? Because there is a dynamic where obviously we're the old continent, right, in Europe, and so there's always the US spending more money faster on topics, but then also like killing them and potentially losing a lot of money. But we would definitely, us as people in Europe, like for investment cycles to be faster and for people to more try than they actually do in Europe. But there's a dynamic where in the Middle East, it's a mix of they have a lot of money right now that they're investing in sports. The decision-making process is usually pretty long over there as well, but there's still an appetite. Do you see a good dynamic coming from this part of the world as well?
Yeah, I think like you said, there's obviously a lot of money, and in sports especially, they really want to be at the forefront with investing, with organizing big events. I think there's a lot of potential. We are currently working, for example, for the Grand Prix we did last year in Qatar. We did more or less on the gamification part where we wanted to grow their database. And I think basically from there, seeing what is happening out there and how they really want to explore and also use AI more or less as an opportunity to grow revenue and to invest in what they're already doing. It's I think a big opportunity for them to and also for us to market that in a way that is not comparable to what America does right now.
Yeah, and can you give us an example of specifically around that Grand Prix? What that you guys put in place and what was related on the gamification piece to AI?
Well, actually, that was not solely related on AI. That's more or less on
a global.
Actually more visitors towards the Grand Prix, growing their revenue in terms of that. On AI, we didn't start with use cases over there, but we know from there they're really keen to explore those kind of
technologies. Overall, cool. One of the big things is always also about monetization, right? So we know that fan engagement and capturing data around fans is something that is very big. It's also about the monetization. How ready are organizations? Are they capable of selling that value that they're creating? Like there's obviously a big element of how we help organizations in that regard. on your end, right? And so we're looking right now. We looked a little bit at the passive AI. We look a little bit, and actually we can maybe deep dive a little bit more, even though in terms of what's happening right now, like right in the next year, where is AI going to be massively important? Actually, let's take a step back. Where do you see like the next year of AI? What is it going to be about?
Yeah, like I said, in I think there's a big opportunity also in using AI actually in a way that it will make sure that people interact more and in a personalized way with their favorite clubs, with leagues, with sports in a way that they've never done before. And I think AI makes it possible to do that in a scalable way, to create new revenue streams within sports, to interact with their clubs, and I think therefore it is really interesting to see how you can create new memberships, new ways of merchandising, all those kind of things that create deeper fan relations, making fans more part of the club itself instead of just having the club communicate towards their fans. And I think from there on, there can be a lot of opportunities to create new relationships with also younger, newer generations of fans.
So it's mostly about the segmentation and fragmentation and using that data efficiently. That's where you see the biggest impact in the short term. And so thus going to the fan engagement monetization, right? Because we know like the key is to be able to monetize well. People don't want to monetize in the dark anymore. They want to be able to target specific people. But on that topic, we like to think like there are three ways that you can have an impact on an organization, which is either reducing the cost because people are looking at savings, and especially in this current market. Number two is how you create new revenues, which is always a nice top line. And then the third one is the wow effect, right? Create some nice marketing PR because that's part of just putting your brand out there. Like, where do you feel AI is going to have the most impact?
I think in short term, it's more on saving money, obviously streamlining the process that you already have within an organization to do it more efficient, much more smarter, and also save time for people to focus on the things that really matter as a professional one. And in the end, we're also looking at new revenue streams. Obviously, there will come, but I really see that a lot of organizations are exploring on how that can be potentially be interesting. So the time will tell, but I think for now it's much more safe and much more easy for organizations to focus on operational efficiency, saving time and cost for the business processes that they already have.
And it's funny because I was at an AI conference recently, and it was about, is AI going to replace jobs? And somebody said it very intelligently. He said, it's not going to replace jobs. People are going to lose their jobs if they don't look at AI. But for the moment, the jobs are going to be there. It's just about how you embrace AI to do a lot more and to have more output versus being scared of AI taking over some of the jobs. And obviously, just from our little experience, it feels like it's creating more opportunities than removing, because there are some things that are like, there are processes that are working well for certain organizations that don't involve AI, and you don't want to replace something that works well already. What you want to do is potentially create new revenue elsewhere by, using the technology to create new opportunities. And it feels like, just as a way of reassuring everybody that is not potentially involved in with AI and that is scared of AI, for the moment, it's more creating more opportunities than people looking at it to actually cut on their run. Just moving to the next one. So we started looking a little bit at the data, right? And you said the segmentation and the customization was important. And we didn't really make the difference between the different types of AI, right? So there's the Gen AI, which everybody understands now through ChatGPT, but there's also the element of AI agents, right? And I'm assuming that for you guys, this is something that is important, considering everything that you say you are looking at in terms of data and using that more efficiently.
Yeah, I think like with the agents upcoming, it gives organizations even more possibilities to use this autonomous, like digital systems to optimize those processes in a much more smarter and efficient way. And I think still agents are just something that a lot of organizations maybe start to explore on how we can, for example, segment our email our inbox a little more smarter and to optimize those kind of repetitive processes.
Yeah.
But I think in the actual value lies in how you can integrate an agent that actually solves like your whole customer service problem, your interaction with your fans, to if they lose their season ticket, for example, how you can help them with actually bringing or sending out a new season ticket instantly when they lose something. Those kind of processes can really be optimized with AI agents.
Yeah.
But I think first, and I'm also happy to see yours or interested
Opinion.
to see your perspective on that, but how organizations should start with AI agents, because actually I think to make them feel comfortable to create those kind of use cases without the risk of like damaging their own the customer relationship, to start with just internal process, to see how you can implement AI agents in just really simple, low-key process within the organization, and from there on build it out to the rest of the organization, and also in your processes with interaction with fans, etc.
Yeah, it's a funny one, right? Because there was always the, and it was more around Web3, but I was trying to think, okay, how would I go about it if I was on the other side, knowing that I've never been on the other side, so I can't judge of the complexity of adopting something new. But I was saying, if I was a small organization, I would probably take the short-term money with people that come in and like, how do I make the most profit out of the technology to begin with? I think with AI, it's a little bit different, but I think that what is super interesting, and with LiveLike, right? Like on that front of things, what we do over there, we are playing with AI agents. What I feel is the most powerful is actually looking at a per topic, right? Like per technology, how you actually make sure that people on the other side use your technology well, right? So it's not only about sending a quiz and then, what does my dashboard look like? And I have to remember at that given point, et cetera. No, all of a sudden you're asking the AI agent, what quiz, what answer, what type of questions did people participate to? And all of a sudden you have all of that, where ultimately as an organization, it's not only about creating some editorial interactivity that creates value for the product, it's more editorial. You have a weapon to actually see what works well and what people want to talk about. And then you have your marketing agent that says, give me the data, feed the data into this to say, this type of quiz at this moment, and do you only compare it to your organization, or do you have a system that allows you to compare to all the different organizations that are using your technology? And this is where it's incredibly powerful, because all of a sudden I came to realize everything that I would have to put in place in terms of process as a CRO of an organization, I don't need it anymore. I just can talk to an interface that can feed into it and that can create the strategy for me, whether it's me interrogating it or me asking my agents to build the strategy for me.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, that is actually crazy when you look at how it could evolve. Actually, in creating those kind of agents that actually help you with just doing that without a single human interaction in it, that gives you this insights and also does the decision making for you. Without just having everything in place. That obviously we're always looking at the most perfect. How do you say it? The most perfect way of creating those kind of processes, and AI agents are,
removing that complexity, right?
Removing that whole complexity, and that's really crazy when you think about it. That you can actually sit down and see how AI does the job for you, and also funny in not only seeing that it works for you, but also learning on how it analyzes those kind of things, or how it's getting those insights. Also makes you much more smarter about what should be the next steps.
Yeah, and 100%. And that's where I'm thinking, if I was on the other side, I think that I would try to, and because the question I asked you earlier of whether it's like technologies adopting AI or AI building the technologies, I think it would be a mix, right? On the other side, I would try to do the most and try to push or choose technologies that do use AI, because I think just in terms of mindset as an entrepreneur, you have to think about how you plug AI in your workflows, but also see, okay, what is the infrastructure that I want to build internally, and what tool, what software do I actually use to be able to bake in all my processes? Because at some point it's going to be about all those technologies talking together. And it's actually, there are ways of doing it, but that aren't streamlined. And it's a little bit like all the technologies that have built their tech on AI. you don't want to do it too soon, because there are some technologies out there that were incredibly good at developing their own model in AI for a certain purpose.
Yep.
But now with the democratization of AI and with the tools that are out there, to what extent can those be fully replaced? Because all of a sudden you're going to be able to build those for a quarter of the price of what you actually had built. So that would be what I would be thinking about if I was on the other side, I think.
Yeah, like you said, the last thing is really interesting about how much what's worth it of buying a tool that is having AI integrated. We got a lot of questions from our clients as well to how you should perceive the pricing that is put on AI tools. Like, is it that good? Is it worth investing? And also because it is becoming, and it's still evolving, it's becoming much more cheap and much more efficient. Like, what kind of also the business model around AI will completely change on how we deliver our services as well.
Yeah. So actually, one hard question actually to finish. What would be the first thing you would do if you were, say, in a club in terms of deploying AI internally?
Actually, really redefining on how can AI really enable or solve complex problems that we have within our organization.
Yeah.
And how can we do that in a scalable way? So not only a one-off campaign or something like that, but how can it be actually one of our tools that make decision making much more smarter and leads to much more revenue within the organization? And that comes with creating the right business objectives, hiring the right people, or actually upskilling the people that you already have, but also creating the right infrastructure. And I think the last one is quite challenging because a lot of sports organizations lack of the technology.
Yeah.
But if you have that in the right place, and I think that's the first part where AI really comes, to its full power.
Yeah. And maybe actually second last question on the topic: how do you use AI personally on your day-to-day work?
Yeah, actually, it's quite funny because I really see it not as a tool, but actually more as my own business partner that helped me with sparring and interacting about a lot of topics that I'm thinking about. Also using it more as an empathy tool to know like the people who I'm talking to.
Okay.
What kind of objectives do they have? What are the problems that they like you said?
Literally, you would
put yourself in the shoes of the person who you're interacting with. What is it that they could potentially use AI for? How would it help them to also improve their own organization's results, revenue, etc. To think about not only from, hey guys, we just want to do something with AI, but actually how does it solve business problems? How does it solve day-to-day operations that you're dealing with? How does it help to hire new talent, upskill all those people? Those kind of things to just think about it.
Yeah.
And it really helps you with putting yourself in the shoes of someone else.
Yeah. Okay. So mostly Gen AI chat function. So typically it would be using ChatGPT and using that's basically what you use on your day-to-day to cover your needs, and mostly to create texts and to fetch information on the people that you're talking to.
Yeah, and I think on the other side, we also have more the AI tools that we're using for clients that are more the CRM systems, the automation systems. Also now to have to get more value out of the data. That's more on the client side. Obviously, we have our own operational side where we just looking at operational efficiency, setting up agents now first in the agency to help people with repetitive tasks and those kind of things. And on the other hand, for clients, started with implementing the right systems because some of them already have a really good foundation with their data infrastructure with right tools, and now to see how the AI can be implemented in those kind of systems. So
that's one thing I'm very bullish on is the data analytics side of things, and the fact of saying, hey, if you have built a strong infrastructure for the last 3 or 4 years, you're going to be able to massively benefit it, because now with it, you're going to be able to trigger those questions to your agents to fetch all the information. And that's what's going to be really powerful versus dedicating people to looking at the data, which is something that is super hard to cross-analyze and to make super intelligent.
Yeah, and like you said, the funny thing is we actually have those kind of people within the organization that can help us with creating those insights, with having the analytics and the insights from all the data that we have. But now, as a marketeer, you can just ask questions and talk to your data, and having those insights real time, but also maybe suggestions or recommendations about what could be potentially interesting segments, what kind of content would work for those kind of segments real time. And yeah, I think that there lies a big opportunity for a lot of companies.
And yes or no question to you, at Techonomy, when you want to get information on data, do you actually ask a system currently, or you have somebody go find the information for you?
I think it's more leaning towards asking yourself that information.
You can ask your system for the information. You already have the infrastructure in place to make that possible.
With some of our clients, yes.
Yeah.
We can already do that.
Very nice. Cool. Super interesting. Already time to wrap up. Usually we like to ask our guests in terms of recommendation, if they have a book, a movie, a series, something that inspired them. And it can be about sports. It can be completely outside of sports. You decide. But what would be your recommendation?
Actually, when we talk about the topic AI, think it's quite old-fashioned to read a book about it. I listened to some podcasts, but actually what was interesting is that I didn't saw a lot of AI in sports-related podcasts or whatever. So I think it's quite interesting. But in terms of books, I'm really bullish always about the Nike book Shoe Dog. Obviously, that is
a classic. It feels like every entrepreneur in sports or anybody working in sports has read that one.
Yeah, so I think that's really inspires me about the whole story behind Nike, how they create it, what the challenges are, and I think this is one of the books that I really love and really inspires me a lot. So
nice. And what can we wish Tomas for the upcoming years?
I think I'm really keen on to explore, like I said, AI with all the sports organizations. To, like you said, it's really a lot of potential. Really, a lot of sports organizations are exploring the AI side. For me, I think I really love to set up a lot of new ways of interacting with fans in a much smarter, much more efficient way, and to see how we can help our clients with that. Not only in Europe but also in Australia. So
AI for you then?
I think that's already really obvious.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Tomas. Great having you here.
Yeah.
So we invite everybody to go learn a little bit more about Techonomy and look at the stuff that you're doing, because you're also pretty present on LinkedIn. And we wish you a great future with the 100+ organizations that you guys are working with.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, guys. Hope you like this episode. If you have, as usual, if you liked it, share about it, talk to your friends about it, like on social media. We like and appreciate your support. And we'll see you soon for another episode.